Did we really just see this again? A Netflix global phenomenon, this time Alice in Borderland, end on a cliffhanger, and not a cliffhanger that suggests the Japanese story is going to continue, but the cliffhanger that suggests the American adaptation is coming. People even want that nowadays. Is it even necessary to remake shows like Squid Games, like Alice in Borderland, shows that became global hits on a global platform in Netflix, appealing to a global audience in the first place? Now, back in the olden days, it might have been a little bit different. Films like The Ring, Ringu, or films like Old Boy, my favorite movie of all time, were remade on the assumption that yes, there was money to be made, but also that a wide section of the audience wouldn't sit there and watch a film in another language with subtitles. They just didn't have the patience for it. Companies saw the opportunity to remake those movies, make a shitload of money out of those movies. But this isn't the early 2000s anymore. Netflix is a global platform that is building a library of films, movies for a global audience. The appeal of something like Squid Games, something like Alice in Borderland, which has its cultural nuances, is that it is something different. It is something different to what we are used to seeing. Why do they insist on teasing, even if they are not fully committed right now, the American rebranding? Do they add any value to the core material, or is it simply, much like the entire film industry nowadays, a way of franchising everything? Now, here's what I think, my opinion. Number one, Netflix doesn't fully trust its audience to fully enjoy non-American concepts, despite being a global platform, despite producing things in seemingly every corner of the globe. If something is a hit, but it isn't from America, it isn't in English language, it seems that there is this section of the audience that's there for the taking. So when a hit like Squid Games comes along, which is so distinctly Korean, instead of rewarding the creators of those shows who have created these global shows that has been enjoyed by everyone with creative freedom to move on to whatever project they want to do next, they would rather invest that money, that dollar, into repackaging what has already worked so well. Which brings us on to reason number two, the more obvious one. Money. From Marvel to Star Wars to Mission Impossible, we have seen very clearly nowadays that if there is money to be made, you are going to milk every single penny out of whatever that franchise is. And when Netflix has a hit like Squid Games, which to be honest could have ended after season one, something like Alice in Borderland, where yes, there was still some source material to explore, but it could have just been left and just been perfect the way it was. They want to franchise everything. And when the franchise ends with the original story, the Korean story, the Japanese story, that is not enough. Now we've got to go global. Is anyone really curious what Squid Games America would look like? Yeah, maybe they would play tag instead of the games that they played in the Korean version. Do we really need to see an entire series dedicated to that? And even more so, the idea of the Borderlands. Do we really need to see a new group of characters coming up against the same sort of challenges? Yes, they'll probably reinvent some games. Yes, they'll probably bring back some classic games, but do we really need to see it? The novelty has gone. Not every story needs a follow-up. Not every movie needs a sequel. Old Boy, thank God, despite being part of the Vengeance trilogy, did not get a direct sequel. Yes, it got a very debatable remake, but it didn't get a sequel. And because of that, it maintains so much of its aura, so much of its presence in the conversation of great singular stories. That level of restraint, that level of single-mindedness, I don't think production companies will allow it to happen nowadays. Everything needs the potential to get bigger. The focus isn't on building something that is quality. The focus is building something with the potential to produce quantity. Netflix is desperately always trying to fill out this library, to pad out this library. How many different incarnations do we have of Love is Blind now? Pretty much every corner of the globe has its own series. Once they find a formula that works for them, they are gonna expand upon it in every way possible. And the fact that something like Squid Games, something like Alice in Borderland, shows which, yes, do have a lot of similar concepts, but approach them in very unique and nuanced ways. The fact that we can't just leave those stories be and just have it as that perfect little series, that perfect little 2-part series or 3-part series. That has become the Netflix process. They can't take Disney's movies anymore. They can't take Fox's movies, MGM's movies, Warner's movies. They have to produce the movies themselves. And the simplest way to fill out a library to make sure that there is always something new dropping is to focus not on quality, isolated pieces of work, but focus on things that can be expanded. Even the tease of these series, even if they don't end up happening, is an example of everything that is wrong with modern day society to a certain extent. Yes, the film and TV industry, they are bankrupt of creativity right now. But even society, it's that desire that you always want more. You can't just enjoy something for what it is. You always want it more. You always want it faster. And teases themselves are not the problem. Look at the Joker card at the end of Batman Begins. Even if you're not the biggest Batman fan, you knew what was coming next. As bad as some of the recent Marvel movies have been, some of those after credits scenes did a great job of setting up what comes next in the story. Those that came before that did the tease of something new well have kind of set up this expectation that if you enjoyed something, do not worry, it will never end. I don't believe for a second that the creators of Alice in Borderland, the creators of Squid Games, when they were sat there in their meetings coming up with the story, I don't believe for a second they thought, you know what the perfect way to end this series is? We're gonna randomly jump over to Los Angeles and tease a uniquely cultural story. A story which reflects our culture, includes our culture, isn't a unique thing. It's happening everywhere. If they thought that our version was good, the Korean version was good, the Japanese version was good, you just get ready because the Los Angeles version of Squid Games is coming. The Los Angeles version of Borderlands is coming. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they did that. Maybe that is exactly how they envisioned from the moment they conceptualized their stories, how it would end. In a cafe in Los Angeles, in a back alley in Los Angeles, someone wearing an Alice name badge. Nah, come on. Who are we kidding? We all know the reason that exists is because of the money. Let me know if you agree. Cheers.